world is shifting in real time, and most people don't even realize the real battle isn't loud. It's quiet. Power today is not just about armies or speeches. It's about institutions, demographics, budgets, trade routes, and long-term strategy. As we move toward the 2026 G20 summit in Miami, the real question is not what leaders will say on stage, but what has already changed behind closed doors. The global system that shaped the last 30 years is under pressure, and every major player is adjusting. Some are speaking about cooperation, others are quietly preparing for a different future. At recent G20 meetings, American representatives stressed that economic cooperation should not be held hostage to political disagreements. On the surface, that sounds practical. Trade, finance, and investment, they argue, must continue even when diplomatic tensions rise. The message is clear. Keep the economic engine running, regardless of political storms. But the global environment is no longer as predictable as it once was. While Washington promotes stability in economic ties, uncertainty remains about the broader political framework of global institutions. Questions about participation, influence, and leadership inside major forums are still unresolved. The format may remain intact for now, but trust inside it is thinner than before. The 2026 summit in Miami will likely become a symbol of where the global economic architecture is heading, not because of speeches, but because of the context. The old system, built on automatic cooperation and shared assumptions, no longer functions the same way. Countries now calculate more carefully. They hedge, they keep options open, they avoid sudden commitments. The era of simple alignment is fading. Look at the South Caucasus. Armenia, for example, has signaled that it does not plan to revise existing agreements regarding Russian facilities on its territory. No dramatic moves, no sharp turns. In a sensitive region, leaders are choosing caution over emotion. This reflects a broader pattern. Smaller states are no longer rushing to pick sides. They are preserving flexibility. In a fragmented world, neutrality or balance becomes a survival strategy. Inside Russia, attention has shifted heavily toward internal development. A long-term demographic and family strategy extending years ahead emphasizes larger families, healthcare, education, and conditions that allow people to combine work and parenting. This is not about quick political wins. It is about long-term structural stability. The message is clear. Resilience begins at home. When global systems feel unstable, internal cohesion becomes strategic capital. Europe faces its own structural tensions. Criticism of supranational institutions is growing. Trust in bureaucratic governance is declining. While European Union countries continue to participate in joint missions and publicly defend collective security, internal disagreements are becoming more visible. Political fatigue is rising. Voters in several countries are not necessarily supporting new movements out of enthusiasm, but rejecting established parties out of frustration. That difference matters. It signals erosion of confidence rather than ideological transformation. Germany reflects this shift clearly. Support for traditional ruling parties has weakened. Alternative forces are gaining ground. Public events now include open criticism and visible dissatisfaction. The distance between governments and citizens is widening. When electorates vote against rather than for, it suggests systemic strain. Political systems can survive disagreement. They struggle when trust declines. Asia presents another dimension of recalibration. Japan has approved a record increase in national security spending, the largest in its post-war history. Officially, this is framed as long-term planning in response to regional risks. But in Asia, every move is closely watched. Moscow has responded cautiously, emphasizing the importance of regional balance and warning against abrupt shifts. In such a tightly interconnected security environment, one strategic adjustment can trigger broader reactions. Stability depends not only on strength, but on predictability. NATO leadership has openly acknowledged that Europe is living through one of its most difficult periods in decades. Calls for increased defense spending reflect recognition that the old model of assumed stability is fading. At the same time, debates intensify about who will bear the financial and political burden of collective security. Declarations are easy. Budget reallocations are harder. The gap between words and resources is becoming more visible. Economic pressures add another layer. Romania has warned that difficult fiscal decisions lie ahead, including tax increases and spending cuts. Similar rhetoric is spreading across Europe. Governments are preparing citizens for prolonged strain rather than promising rapid recovery. This shift in tone is important. It signals realism but also reduced confidence in quick solutions. Beyond Europe, voices are growing more independent. In Latin America, leaders such as Colombia's president have used stronger rhetoric when addressing Washington, questioning past policies, and asserting greater regional autonomy. These statements reflect a broader global trend. Countries are less willing to automatically align with major powers. They seek diversified partnerships and greater sovereignty in decision-making. Eastern Europe illustrates the cost of geopolitical shifts. Moldova's closure of a Russian-linked cultural center is part of a broader foreign policy reorientation. Meanwhile, European exports to Russia in several sectors have fallen sharply. Manufacturing, transport, and machinery industries have been hit. These are not abstract numbers. They translate into lost contracts, disrupted supply chains, and economic adjustment pains. Political decisions produce economic consequences that last far longer than news cycles. Even smaller cultural events mirror rising tension. At an international chess tournament, a top player's emotional reaction after defeat sparked debate about sportsmanship. On the surface, it seems minor, but it reflects something deeper. Pressure levels are rising across sectors. Competition is sharper. Tolerance is thinner. Emotional responses surface more easily in high-stakes environments. Put all of this together and a clear pattern emerges. The global system is not collapsing overnight, but it is fragmenting gradually. Old centers of influence are no longer unchallenged. Institutions once considered untouchable are questioned. Political elites face declining automatic trust. Economic interdependence remains strong, but it is now managed with caution rather than assumption. The real competition today is not between loud voices. It is between strategies. Some governments prioritize internal resilience, demographics, fiscal discipline, infrastructure, social cohesion. Others focus on maintaining external influence and alliance structures. Both approaches carry risks. Short-term political gestures can produce long-term economic costs. Hesitation can create missed opportunities. The outcome will not be decided by speeches at summits, but by sustained policy choices over years. The 2026 G20 summit will not by itself redefine global power, but it will reflect the direction already underway. The key factors shaping the future are functioning institutions, resilient economies, demographic strength, and public trust. Without these, even powerful states face limits. With them, even mid-sized countries can navigate turbulence more effectively. The world is not entering chaos, but it is entering recalibration. Change is no longer theoretical. It is practical, visible in budgets, laws, and alliances. The question is not whether the global order is evolving. It is how deeply and how quickly. Those who prepare quietly may gain stability. Those who rely only on rhetoric may struggle. The future will belong not to the loudest actors, but to those who understand that power in this era is built patiently, internally, and strategically. And that process is unfolding right now.